Hello and welcome to the 106th dev update, which is about the 10th dev update where I've had my sleep rugged in a row, which is no problem though. With me today, I have the premiere, the amazing premiere, first time ever on video, I think. We have the one and only Alison Robson. How you doing, sir?
Hi, sir. How are you doing?
So I was sitting in bed this morning, getting ready for my mental preparedness for getting on a flight and leaving, and saying that, oh man, I don't have any guests for the dev update. I'm just going to run it solo. And then out of the blue, like manna from heaven, I get a text from Alison asking about something unrelated. And I said, sucker born every minute. I said, you're doing the dev update with me.
I have to say I didn't have the chance to be mentally prepared for this.
I'm never mentally prepared for this, Alison, ever. That's what makes it good. All right, well, let's dive in. For people who don't know who you are, and never look at the Ergo platform EF community page, why don't you start with letting me know who you are and what your role is in Ergo?
Okay, so I'm a Ergo Foundation officer. I play the role of making the bridge between community and foundation, because I'm usually work a lot with UX and UI, and people often need my help on the ecosystems and guidance on tooling, etc. So I started working on Yoroi in good old times, right?
I didn't think we were allowed to talk about that anymore. That's a swear word in Ergo, Alison.
Yeah, that's a nice test so far. And I ended up by playing the role of team lead of Nautilus Team. So I work daily with Captain Nemo and the other amazing guys. So we are the team responsible for delivering Fleet SDK, Nautilus Wallet, Metamask integration, GraphQL, and so on.
You're also responsible for Paper Wallet, right? From what I read.
It's that was my first one project on Ergo.
What made you interested in Ergo in the start? What brought you here?
I believe that the ethos of the community and the solid tech behind it.
Where did you hear about it? Were you in like the Cardano ecosystem and came over, or were you on another chain?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe I first hear about it from the Cardano community.
So when you came over from there, essentially, were you doing any development on that chain and started over here, or did you?
No, I didn't. I'm from business from excuse me, from business to business industry, right? So my first contact with blockchain was with Ergo.
Wow, and you stayed. That's very impressive.
I already knew about Bitcoin and some technicalities about it, but never get my hands dirty before it.
Are you did you do a lot of when you first made paper wallet at least, did you give a lot of paper wallets to friends by hand? Like here's the Ergo kind of thing? What was your
Uh,
intention? What was your intention with paper wallet? What was the idea of use case, I guess?
yes, the main use case is to gift my family and friends with and spread the words of Ergo.
Now
I believe,
before sorry, go
I,
for it.
I believe the grassroots uh, the grassroots efforts worth more than anything directed to masses, right? Um, and I believe the paper wallets play an important role in this. It makes people uh, curiosity about it, right?
Now before you give your family members a paper wallet that you've put ergs in, do you send those ergs through the mixer so they can't trace it back to your original wallet and say, "Oof, Uncle Allison's got a lot of erg in his wallet."
Of course, man.
You don't want little Timmy to be like, "Shit, Uncle Allison, why'd you
I'm a
only give me 50 erg?"
I'm a mixer maximalist.
Oh boy. All right, so let's chat about the new endeavor that your team is taking on, and that's MetaMask integration. What brought that out? What was the idea of why you thought that would be beneficial to the Ergo ecosystem and Ergo users?
Okay. MetaMask, the idea to have this integration with MetaMask was to make bridging and cross-chain activities a bit more user-friendly, right? Because you are using just one wallet to interact with both chains. It sounds pretty good from the user experience point of view. Yeah. So that's quite a challenge to integrate this because we are building something on a really constrained environment, um, and some hard to do integrations. Excuse me, some hard to do implementations are needed. For example, we needed to write from scratch a prover, right? Which is the module responsible for making the Schnorr signatures. That what that's quite a challenge for us.
So you guys did it in a couple days, or what?
We did it in 3 days or so.
3 days. And what was what can you explain I read while you were working on this, your team was working on this, there's a certain entity that has to do some sort of audit to approve all the code that's written to be integrated into MetaMask, and that's kind of a roadblock too that you have to wait for.
Yeah, but initially I asked Kushti to look at the code, and now that the integration module is finished, um, Consensus, which is the company behind MetaMask, is demanding an auditing for from a third party firm, auditing firm.
Kushti's not third party enough.
Unfortunately not. but but I trust Kushti more.
I know, right? Is this one of those things where you the more you scratch the surface of digging into these toolings on how this works, the more fishy it smells, and the more like, oh, there's some shit underneath here that that I'm noticing.
Yeah, exactly. So we are kind of blocked now because um, we are trying to figure out how to raise funds to make the auditing process.
How
So
can I ask how much it is? Is that public?
I believe not,
Okay,
but
it's a
it's about money.
lot. It's a lot. Too much for an ergo raffle.
I believe it's doable. It's doable. We can talk about that.
And at the same time, would you um, integrate work with Spectrum to perhaps allow MetaMask to connect to the Ergo side at least of that?
Yep, we are already working on integration library for as a part of BlitzTCG. So I believe that it will be as simple as using Nautilus, for example.
And then eventually, would you work on integrating like Cardano as well into MetaMask so that you could at least interact with the DEX and cross-chain swap fairly easily there with one wallet?
If I'm not mistaken, there is a team working on that on the Cardano side already. But we do plan to have Cardano on Nautilus.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Or our top one priority.
Really?
What? Yeah.
Oh, so
It's a lot.
how do you do that integration? Is it like a pull down where you swap between the two chains in the wallet, or will there be different tabs up top, or what's the UI look like for that?
It will be more like cross-chain wallet, right?
Okay.
You'll be able to manage your assets from Cardano side and from Ergo side. We are cross-chain wallet.
That'll be awesome. I mean, I did some. I have been DCing with Rosen on the Cardano side, and it is. I mean, even though it's not for somebody who uses wallets, like ourselves, it's not a big deal to switch between two wallets. But yeah, I can imagine the first time when I entered crypto, my thought was, shit, I have to have three different wallets for these three different chains that I'm on, and it's kind of a buzzkill for a new adopter. So I totally understand. Even though people in the ecosystem might think it's not a big deal, for a new adopter, it's a really big deal. It's kind of a bit of a hurdle to spin up one wallet, let alone two or three. So having that integration inside one wallet, I think, is extremely beneficial to new adopters.
Yeah, exactly. The initial plan is to follow Rosen, right? Where Rosen Bright 2, we are going to add support to
To
Nautilus.
Nautilus. So
Yeah,
Ethereum in Nautilus.
exactly.
Oh, that's gonna be dirty, man. That's gonna be real dirty.
Um, our top one priority right now is to migrate to manifest V3 that Google is demanding us to update.
For
So
the plugin.
yeah, exactly, because it's a huge change, and we are focusing our efforts exclusively to it for now. But after we have that solved, we are ready to join on Machina and cross chain integration.
All right. What about, here's a question for you. I know we have an amazing mobile wallet in the Ergo ecosystem, and I'm not dissing it whatsoever. I love it. I use it a lot. Is there any talk of making some sort of mobile version of Nautilus, or letting Nautilus work on a browser mobily somehow cached? Who knows? Any thoughts about that?
Yep. I the playing with this manifest V3 migration is to prepare the ground for a mobile build. in the future, right? But we do not have a timeline yet, but it's on the plans.
This is exciting. Now I'm really excited. Now I'm not going to be able to sleep on the plane, Allison.
We need an EIP 12 wallet on mobile. It will make it will make every debt automatically uh, compatible with mobile builds, right?
What is can you tell me about EIP 12? It's not in the EIP list at all. It must have never been pulled to the main list.
EIP 12 is the protocol which allows dApps to communicate with Nautilus.
Okay.
The dApp connector or EIP.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Cool. Well, that's exciting. So why if so MetaMask isn't necessarily for the benefit of Ergo users, considering that you're going to be building Ethereum and Cardano into Nautilus. MetaMask integration is more for the benefit of other chains coming into Ergo, where they can put Ergo in their already present MetaMask wallet, essentially.
Yeah.
I totally didn't know about you integrating stuff into Nautilus. Now I'm really excited. It's all I'm going to think about all day. Goodness gracious. All right. What else before we dive into the dev update readings? What else? Anything in the pipe that you can talk about that's secret? I remember there was something that was secret maybe 5 months ago or 4 months ago that you mentioned at one point. And we can cut this if it is secret. But you talked a little bit about, and I think you put it in a dev update, so maybe it's okay to talk about. You talked about your team developing some sort of messaging system inside Nautilus.
Yeah.
How's that going?
That's on the research phase yet, because we have some challenges, to prevent spamming, right? So we are currently looking at how to mitigate it with proof of work, right? So a messenger to get accepted by a relay needs to be some amount of work attached to it. So we actually are going to write an EAP on this and explain the role thing, right? So I believe this, because of manifest v3 migration, all the efforts are focused on it, because we have a relatively short schedule. So probably no news until May or June.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Did you see? I just for the first time wrote an EIP just as a crapshoot. Posted it in chat today. It had messaging in it, but the idea was they're called how do you pronounce it? Ephemeral tokens. And the idea is that there's a need, I think, on chain for tokens that vanish, that are burnt, with incentive for miners to burn them. So essentially, if I'm sending, let's say a messaging protocol was developed where I could send you messages, there's no need for those messages to stay on chain and take up space. So if I attach a little bit of ergs to each message in a requirement that that message, that token has to be present with some erg, and I attach an expiration block height, then the smart contract will allow miners to burn that token after the block height and take the ergs out of that box as a reward. So I put it in the EIP. It's just kind of a thought process to put up there. But yeah, that could reduce spam depending on if you set the price of the message a little higher. So you're really only sending important messages and you're not going to spend 30 erg to spam. Maybe you will. I don't know.
Yeah,
You know, that kind of thing. So that's up there now. I was hoping people would talk about it, but maybe everybody's asleep, and maybe it's a stupid idea. But we'll see.
Good approach. Yeah.
All right, that's awesome. Well, I'm excited. Let's dive into the readings. Sound good?
Okay.
All right. I will start them off. We have Luivatra with When Crux. Further work on subscription system, creating endpoints for retrieving token metadata, focus on artwork standard version 2 and collection info. And then he has he's working with BlitzTCG, trade carding game, pack sale backend, endpoint for fetching packs present in the user's wallet, and endpoint for user pack opening history so they can view which cards were in which pack openings. Are you a gamer at all, Alison? Do you play Cyberverse?
Oh, not really.
Probably no time, right?
Not enough time, exactly.
Look at this. The timing's perfect. We have from the Nautilus Team update.
We have the man itself, right? Captain Nemo. It's still working on Nautilus manifest feature migration, which is a huge change, and so small progress on other fonts for now. On FleetSDK, we factored output builder and token collection to enforce token minting orders, and also released v0.3.4.
So with Fleet SDK, from what I recall, your team had said something like they were working on something in addition to that, or something was released a couple months ago that lets you just purely write in JS or something like that. Am I wording that properly? Or so you need to know zero as far as what's it called?
Other language was
yeah, exactly. So if you just know JS and you want to interact with a blockchain, that's all you need to know.
The main thing about Fleet SDK is it's a pure JavaScript library. So you can build dApps real quick because you don't need to worry about loading WASP modules or dealing with complex environments. We just import the library and start building. That's the philosophy of Fleet. It's to make building off-chain code as simple as possible.
I know that recently MG Pi has fallen in love with it, and every time I talk to him, he's like, "Just do it in Fleet." I'm like, "I don't know, Jay. I can't." He's like, "Just do it in Fleet." He said, "Fleet's amazing. Fleet's amazing."
He's always making proposals to improve that. I appreciate it a lot.
You have him on mute, don't you? All right, let's see. We've got Kushti with Ergo Research and Development. Made more code towards merge mine sidechain prototype. Header verification code with empty DB stub is mostly done. Now need to do transactions verification and database prototype. He's reviewed a pull here with a Scripto, and finally merge the Sigma State Interpreter pull 949. And he started reviewing this pull right here, which I'm not sure what it is. Dexy, private testing provided great feedback, which was really cool. I did a little bit of testing with Dexy Gold as well on that Dex to swap some things. Worked super well. Dimitri is on fixes and proposed improvements. Code for Us is working on redemption. Revisited redemption proxy contract for that. ChainCash still doing general presentation. That's right. We were waiting for, ever since Ergo Hack, Kushti promised that he'd have another presentation for ChainCash. Looking forward to that. ErgoDevs DAO posted ErgoDevs DAO proposal. This is just initial writing. I am now using to invite people, discuss it with funds, etc. As a next step, I am inviting to discuss a structure. After that, ways to raise funds. That's pretty cool. Does anything else like that exist? I can't imagine that that's too prolific on other chains, right? That you're having a
about that. That's a crazy idea, but that will bring a lot of value to the development on Ergo. Right?
Yeah. All right, you looks like you got Rosen Bridge, sir.
Okay, let's go. On the Rosen Bridge side, we have guard service. Guard service is updated according to new version of contracts that will be used in production after a series of tests. Updated Rosen chains versions, bug fixing transaction validation, update package dependencies, fix bug on Cardano TX validation, and some minor improvements in abstraction. On Rosenet, add plug and play design principle to system design doc. Log different live P2P node events for both node and relay. Add node info to both node and relay packages. And added write list config to both node and relay packages.
They had a interesting update this week for the watchers. It wasn't just the typical pull, compose down, compose up. It was you guys need to generate a Blake 2 hash and put it in your config file or your environment file, and then pull compose down, compose up. So it was a little like a curveball thrown at the watches. I think it's interesting because a lot of these watches are people that have zero coding experience, so they've followed the videos that have been made, and these kind of things are trickier than people would think for people like that. So if anybody's struggling with that, I made a quick video and put it in the Rosen chat on how to add it to the environment file, so people should check that out if they're having trouble changing the latest update. But cool. All right, we have the Sigmanauts update. Market maker. Canon is circling back around to all the market makers. It appears that after talking with a few people and looking them over, it appears that the loan option is not what's fully described in the details. So we're just getting some clarity on that. Community market maker proposal. We actually started a group, a Telegram group, because why not? Why not have 50,000 Telegram channels all related to Ergo? So what happened in there is the idea, we're all working on spinning up Hummingbird bot. We're going to point it to whatever we have KYC access to, whether it be Gate, whether it be KuCoin, and we're going to run it with either like $500 or $1,000. And we're going to find some good parameters, and we're going to see how it affects volume, see how it affects profit, or if you're paying for it. I know Flying Pig ran it for one day early on Tuesday, I think, and he said he generated like $24,000 worth of volume, but it cost him $50. So he tweaked it a little bit to drop the volume down, and he ended up zero the next day, which is great. So Alice, imagine if we had 100 market making humming bots running from the community in their own liquidity. That'd be amazing,
Simply amazing. No,
yeah.
No words to describe it.
So SigsDAO, there's a new ERG1 proposal. I believe it passed. I haven't checked it. And that was just injecting some ERGs into their reward systems, which I think will help spark that. For those of you that don't know, ERG1, they use proof of commitment protocol, they call it, which means that if you tweet about Ergo and tag it in it, then you can be ranked based on how many likes, follows, retweets your tweets get, and then you can be rewarded with ERG1 tokens. And the idea was just let's put that on steroids for a month and say, here's an extra 500 ergs that you can distribute to your rankings to get more people to sign up, because this is community marketing and this is what we should support, I think. Sig mining pool. We had some issues with share payouts calculations. So Cheese went over our config files and notified us that he believes there's some issue when we try to combine high hash rate miners with low hash rate miners in the same pool. So we split it and we created a low hash rate pool and a high hash rate pool on different ports. And we steered our high hash rate people to that and our low to the other one. Then we found a block within an hour, but now it's been about a day and a half since we found a block, so we're a little dry. I gotta knock on wood. Hopefully we find a block soon to see if that actually worked. But yeah, waiting game right now. Speaking of cheese, here we go for Lithos. All you.
Now we have the man, cheese enthusiast with Lithos. Continued developing the reference client and more research done on Straton implementation.
I'm looking forward to Lithos. How about you?
Awesome to see that Lithos is back.
Yeah, so excited.
It's the best news in months.
Do you mine at all, Alison?
Oh,
do you mine at all?
I don't. Energy is too expensive in Brazil.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. All right, let's see. We have Deathgripson right here. Added eGamble key and communication channel get endpoints to server. Added communication channel value primeness checking functionality to client REST API. Implemented generation of compatible key upon connecting to market server. This is exciting. Ever since he won Ergo Hack, he's really been trying to crank this out to get a fully usable product.
And it's steady progressing week after week. I'm always following that.
Let's see. I think that is it.
Let's see. Just a second.
Oh, you got another one somewhere?
QX, right?
That's me. That's okay. That's what I talked about earlier. That's the EIP that I talked about.
Okay, ephemeral tokens. I didn't see that.
Yeah, no worries.
I need to take a look at that.
Yeah. If you see it, tell me what you think. Luivatra corrected me on where I was putting things in the registers, but the general idea still stands. I think we can create an incentive for miners to burn tokens. Then hopefully that'll, have some use cases there for people who want to put data on a chain, but then it doesn't need to stay there longer than a day or 10 days or 2 weeks, and then it can just poof, go away kind of thing. And imagine in the base use case scenario where you're sending encrypted messages. If I want to send a message across chain to somebody else encrypted that only the other person receiving it can read it, after they read it, there's no reason for it to stay on the chain for somebody else to try to crack with a quantum computer or something. So it can just, go away.
That's an amazing idea.
So we'll see where the discussion leads to that. Okay, that's it for the readings. Anything? I really appreciate you coming on. This is fantastic. Really, it made my day. It was a very pleasant thing to wake up to. Anything you want to leave the masses with? Any words of wisdom? Any things to look forward to from your team? Anything that makes you excited about Ergo? Anything. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. I'm not exactly the wise man. Kind of wise man, right?
Your beard says otherwise, sir.
Oh, it's just appearance. But I believe Ergo is it's an amazing ground to build cool things and meet such the great guys on the entire industry. I'm convinced about that because we didn't see anything even similar to what is being done here in almost for free for many
Right.
guys.
Yeah.
So I believe that's a true thing that Wolves spend some time around and see. I'm almost sure that if you are a dev or something, you will find something to have fun on. So
I agree. I agree. That's a good. That's those are some good words. There is always something to have fun on. Even the things that come out of the pipe, like even the silly games like Hodl Coin and Auction House, Auction Coin, that kind of are degen like. They have serious hardcore ideas behind what makes them tick. So it's really cool to see that happen. People might see that, oh, it's just a game, but there's some really good math behind these things that have really good implications beyond that.
even of our degeneracy is a bit
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
a bit, right?
All right, perfect. That's a perfect way to end it. Thank you so much, Alison. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you more around in chats as well. Great. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye bye.